Okay, everyone, welcome. This is our fourth session of a Mesa Space Skills session. And today we have a great panel about being ready for conferences and how to make your best impression with recruiters. Next week, we have a session on grad school, not necessarily like I'm going to go to grad school, what do I do next? And here's how I apply, but more so do I want to go to grad school? Is it the right next move for me? That kind of thing. So make sure that you go to Mesa Space and sign up. That will be a great session as well. And then we also are going to round out the year with a session about professional licenses and certifications. So if that's something that you are that you're interested in your field, that will be another one that you should sign up for. So I want to get started and thank you to everyone who's here. I'm going to turn it over to Dawn.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. If I don't know you, I'm Dawn Carter, and I actually sit on the board for Mesa at Statewide in California. Been doing that a very long time. I'm super excited about this topic as a first generation student, a person with disabilities, a big old introvert. I wish I would have had this type of session to help me kind of figure out how to follow the landscape. So we have two great panelists today. For some companies we don't typically have. So we have Ford and we have Medtronic. I'm going to have them do a quick introduction, a little bit about themselves, their companies, the roles that they hire, and maybe a fun fact. So my fun fact today is hopefully today I will become another grantee, which is an auntie and a grandma all mixed together. Hopefully she delivers. Get that Sanchez baby here. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley first.
Thanks, Don. And exciting news. You'll have to keep us updated, but congratulations ahead of time. But I am Ashley Bagel, everyone. Thank you for joining and happy Friday. I'm a talent acquisition manager with Medtronic. So you might be thinking, what's Medtronic? I might not have ever heard of Medtronic, but if you've heard of a pacemaker, if you've heard of a diabetes pump, we actually invented the pacemaker, which is something that's an implantable that keeps your heart pumping. So we invented that about 75 years ago. And fast forward now, we actually treat over 70 conditions in the body. So we're a global organization that employs about 100,000 people worldwide. So I am on our early careers team. So I do all things internship along with my team. We go to a lot of different conferences. We have Ship and SWE coming up, so I'm here to help you prepare. And I would say a fun fact is I'm dog obsessed. I will pet any dog that I see, of course, with owner's permission. But I've got a friend's dog here. There's always somebody else's dog here laying on the floor with me, and mine's out napping in the living room right now. So that's me.
I love it. Kate, we'll turn it over to you.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, I'm so jealous that you have a dog who wants to hang out with you. I have a cat who never wants to hang out with me. So Kate Fiefer, I'm a part of Ford Motor Company's university relations team. So we've been around for 120 years. It's a really exciting time within the automotive industry. A lot of our positions are in the Southeast Michigan area. So looking for those individuals who may be interested in potentially relocating and seeing all that Ford has to offer. I've been previously in Big Four consulting as well as in big tech. So really nice to see all within the university relations space that this is really just such a great opportunity that I think everybody remembers in this space, like what it was like to be in your shoes. And so didn't plan to spend my entire 20-year career in this space, but have really just loved it so much. So really looking forward to start with you today, as we do have a number of intern and full-time roles that we're looking for, and have been to some conferences already where I was collecting these best practices in preparation for today. So thank you so much for having me. And a little fun fact, in addition to my cat not being around me, is I come from a very meat-eating family, but I've been vegetarian for 20 years. So I'm the outlier within the group.
Oh my gosh, that was like me with the Samsung phone and everyone else had Apple. I was not within the bubble. Oh my God. I love that. All right, let's get started, everyone. We have a great showing. Our goal today is to have a conversation for the next half an hour and then really open it up for any questions that you all will have for the last 15 minutes, because I think that is super important. So I'm gonna start this off with Kate and then we can flow into Ashley, but what are the top things to prepare? I'm going to go to Grace Hopper or I'm going to a regional conference. What are the top things to prepare for the conference?
Absolutely. This sounds really basic, but the first thing is just preparing yourself. So, managing your energy, knowing leading up to the conference, it is a lot of time, it is a lot of investment. You're around a lot of people. So, really just getting yourself in that headspace. Additionally, really looking at what sessions within the conference you may be interested in and looking at that full agenda to plan your time accordingly. And then thinking about also what is it that you are most interested in? Like, what are the roles that you are going and really seeking out? And that could be from a company lens and doing that research in advance, identifying those companies who will be participating. But it's also really thinking about what is it that you are hoping to get out of it, not only just with a specific level of role, such as an intern or a full-time role. What is your area of interest? Because a number of our organizations have a variety of spots in which you can go. And while we appreciate people being flexible and saying, like, I'm interested in a number of things, it really helps to focus in the conversation when we understand as recruiters what you specifically are looking for. So while it may sound like very table stakes things, you'd be surprised of how sometimes that first preparation might not happen. So that would be my biggest tip, is prepare yourself for that time.
Ashley, do you have some follow-up? Because you and I chatted about, do I come with my group, my tribe? Do I come by myself? Can you give us some pointers on coming up to the booth?
Yeah, I would say, you can do a little bit of both, but what's interesting when you think about Kate and Ford, everybody knows Ford Motor Company, right? And when you don't know a company, maybe like Medtronic, but somebody talks about a pacemaker, diabetes pump, anything like that, it starts to resonate a little bit. But one of the things I notice with students, and if they come up together, that's okay, but I'd say you're there to look for a job for yourself. So I think coming up by yourself, being ready, and doing a little bit of research, like Kate said. So maybe if you narrow down, 4 or 5 companies that you want to visit. But I would say my biggest pet peeve is when people come up to the booth and they're like, what's Medtronic do? And so we get that a lot, where you think about somebody's like, yeah, maybe you don't know. But if the booth looks cool, if it's not a company you've researched, pull your phone out, just look up real quick, like what we do. You can even come up and just say, hey, I saw your booth. Your booth looked really cool. Tell me more about Medtronic, instead of saying like, well, what do you guys do? I don't know what you do. So even if you don't, fake it a little bit and just say, hey, this is a really cool product, or pick up a flyer, read a little bit and say, hey, could you tell me a little bit more about your internship program? I'm a biomed engineering major and I'm looking for an internship this summer. So that's where you can get a little bit of your elevator pitch in. But I think it's really important, even if you haven't done the research on the company, just act like you kind of know what you're doing, owning the room. Just as a quick follow-up, Don said, if you're going with your friends, that's okay. But sometimes, what we'll try to do is we want to ask you separate questions. So if you go with 2 or 3 classmates, friends, we might be asking you different questions where, if one of them stands out more than you, or, maybe they're not the right major and you are, the recruiter can forget some of those things too. So I'd say you can always go together, but, really try, especially the companies that you're highly interested in, try to make that approach to the hiring team there solo for sure.
I love those advices. It's always important. As a big introvert, I always had to like manage my energy, going to these conferences and being on the floor or talking to students, just because, as an introvert, like, an extrovert can suck the energy out of me in like 10 seconds. And so, yeah, it's something I had to manage. Let's talk about what should students bring to a career fair? Should they bring a resume, GitHub? Like what are we thinking about in this digital age? Should students still be bringing to the career fair floor?
My recommendation would be to still bring a printed copy of your resume, because it helps just guide the conversation. I will call out though, and Don, you hit the nail on the head. Most employers, and do not take it personally, will not take your resume. That is because it has your personal information on it, and then we are responsible for that PII. So we will have a formal application, or oftentimes employers will want you to submit information through their systems. It's still really helpful though, just for you to have the resume after you kind of go through your pitch and as you're working through, turn that resume around and just kind of showcase it. I think sometimes it also reminds, if you're getting flustered in the conversation or you're having some of those nervous feelings, it's kind of a nice like guide for you to remember what you've done, because it's very easy to skip some of those pieces when those feelings are taking over. Depending on the type of role or type of company that you're interviewing for, you may put together something more specific or tailored that would be more like a portfolio or something that would align in more of a digital format. But just recognizing too, depending on the size of the fair, time is a bit of a crunch. There oftentimes these have many lines, they're long, and so you really want to make sure that you're maximizing your time, and speaking to what you're doing rather than just showing something really allows you to voice over those specifics that wouldn't come through necessarily in that application. Ashley, do you agree with that, or did I totally speak out of turn?
No, that's perfect. And I will say, like, as recruiters, we don't typically take resumes. We're like, scan the QR code, upload here. Sometimes people at the booth take them, right? But I'd say it's always, again, good to have. But after, you give your resume, you sign up, I would make sure that you're grabbing like a business card, a name of somebody there, and jotting that down, and just send them like a quick follow-up email or a LinkedIn message after. Some people don't give out their business cards or don't like to do that, that's fine. But if you just jot their name down or they have a name tag, just shoot them a really quick LinkedIn message like, hey, it was really nice to meet you. And that way, when these conferences or career fairs or whatever you're attending, sometimes we could talk to thousands of students. It's that nice art of the follow-up afterwards. If you're just saying, hey, I applied for a role, it was nice to meet your team, I really liked hearing about this, I did further research, but just kind of closing that sale if you think about it that way.
As we close this out a little bit, this is something that I think it gets asked all the time. One is, what should I wear at the career fair? And before, Ashley, I'll have you kick it off and then go to Kate. I do want to emphasize, please print your resume before you go, because you could be one of thousands trying to print at the hotel, and that just doesn't work. So that's my other bit of advice, is print before you go. So Ashley and Kate, what should we wear? It's so different nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends too. Like what I wear to career fairs, what I have on now is a Medtronic sweatshirt. I usually wear jeans, but I'd say if you can, and you have them, wear a pair of dress pants, females, wearing a dress, skirt, pants, just something I'd say more on that business side of things. Now, do you need a full suit? No, but if you have that, you can certainly wear it. I would say, a nice shirt and slacks is always good. I feel like I just dated myself by saying the word slacks, but whatever, bear with me, guys. But yeah, just looking professional. But it doesn't have to be a certain color shirt. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to remove all your makeup or remove a certain hair color or hairstyle or change anything. We want to see your authentic self, but just think about, what you would maybe like wear to a job interview, wear to church, wear to your grandma's house, like just something that you want to look presentable and nice with. And if you don't have access to some of those things, a lot of people do, or they go in, I'll say for myself, like Medtronic's pretty casual. I also work from home, so I get to wear sweatshirts a lot, right? My joggers, all of those things. But, I'd say, if you can't afford something, if you don't have anything, a lot of your schools will have like different closets within like the business center, the engineering center, to help you kind of dress to impress. There's different clubs, professors can help with that. I've got somebody on my team. We had to go to a career fair last week, and she's like, I didn't have dress pants. So I went over to Goodwill and found a great pair for $5. So just kind of think about that, using your resources. But if you don't have something and you need something, don't be afraid to ask somebody, at school, like I mentioned, and they can definitely help you with that.
Hey, what are your thoughts about what shoes to wear?
Comfortable ones.
Yeah.
There is a lot of walking in this. There is a lot of standing in this. So again, you want a nice, to Ashley's point, like professional pair, but definitely try them on before. Make sure that you feel comfortable. Because oftentimes, again, like these really hitting the conferences often bring together a number of different employers interested in similar profiles, which means that you could have, folks from more of like consulting or those where like you do need to dress a little bit more professionally on the regular, whereas you will also have tech companies and others who are much more casual. So kind of meeting that middle, put your outfit together like beforehand, make sure that it's ironed, just like those, or steamed, like those comfortable things of just making sure that it will make you feel more confident. And that's a big piece of this, is just almost psyching yourself up for these conversations. So being confident in what you're wearing, comfortable in your shoes. It sounds so small, but it really does just add to a stronger experience that you can just focus on what you want to convey when you meet those booth representatives.
I love it. I always see people wearing high heels and I think, holy cow, how did you do that all day? Some of these conferences, I think Grace Hopper, I used to average like 7 to 8 miles a day, like easy peasy. So wear comfortable shoes, and you can wear really nice flats with nice tennies. Okay, I just dated myself too. Trainers, whatever y'all call them nowadays. And so, yeah, it's an opportunity. All right, let's move on to networking and engagement. So one of my favorite questions, are there common mistakes you see students make when networking at events? So this could be at a company social at an event or even a session. Uh, Ashley, you want to start on this one?
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind. And Don, I can't remember if it was you or Kate said this at the beginning, but just talking a little bit about like, if you're going up to a booth, what to expect, right? Like a lot of these things. Gosh, I totally just lost my train of thought. What you made a really good point. Sorry, guys, it's Friday. Somebody made a really good point about something they saw at a booth, and I thought, oh yes, I remember now. When you're going up to a booth or networking, so this could be like the pre-networking if you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, just reaching out to recruiters on LinkedIn, or going to the booth and you're like, well, I'm an econ major. What kind of roles do you have for me? Like, and not doing that research ahead of time, or I'll have students sometimes I probably get 20 to 30 messages a day. And sometimes students are like, it's just a blind reach out. And they're like, do you have time to talk to me about my career? I need some guidance on my resume. And while I would love to give back and do that and help every student, that's not my job. And I don't have time to do it. So when I respond to messages or I see messages, I want that purpose driven statement like, hey, I found this finance analyst internship for summer. Can you tell me more about it? I've submitted the application and I'd like to know what the work environment's like. So really putting that ask out there that's purposeful. I would say while you're at the conference too, like put your phone away while you're at the booth. I mean, I've seen students when they're like clicking along on their phones, right? Or they're, taking pictures of the booth or doing things like that. Wait until you've already had a conversation with somebody, and then you can take your phone out if you want to follow up or do anything like that. But I'd say like phones put away. If you're going to anything that, and I don't obviously know ages of people on here, but if you're going to anything that, serves alcohol, if you're going to any dinners, mixers, it sometimes is nice to, you think it's going to help calm your nerves. Don't do that. I would say like, don't have a drink or maybe just have one. And then with food too, it's like these places sometimes have like really solid setups, right? But it's moderate, right? We I heard this the other day. One of the managers is, I guess there was some like leftovers after somewhere, and they were watching like an intern like put a bunch of like yogurts in their bag. Where like if we have extra stuff after like something, I will like force food on our interns, but just like be mindful of like how much you're taking, what you're eating, some of those type of things. I always kind of compare it to like maybe like a first date, right? Like obviously, two different paths there, but think about like how you'd be like on your best behavior, whether it's like etiquette, what you're saying, what you're doing.
Kate, any other mistakes you see students making that they can learn from?
Yeah, I think those were great tips in terms of like how you show up. And I think in terms of like the conversation, right? So doing a little bit either of the research or bringing in topics. So what I mean by that is you will be oftentimes in like booth lines, like to Ash's point earlier, like look up the company that you are, just really quick tidbits. Or if you are going to a company, a lot of times they will have like company sponsored events. Do a little bit more of a deep dive on that research. Being at larger companies my whole career, I cannot say how many times someone was just like, I know X company is so big. And it's like, yeah, a lot of companies are big, right? Why are you actually interested? It could just be one little nugget that interests you or you want to talk about, but it's a really nice, it's hard to start conversation, right? And this is a skill set that you're honing that you will have, your entire career, where it's really uncomfortable to be by yourself and go up to someone, but know that like that's what you are there to do, and that's what the representatives are there to do. So it is entirely appropriate to go up to a group or they're small, or if you see somebody off to the side and just introducing yourself, starting with, I'm really interested in your company. I saw that they, did whatever it is. How, can you talk to me about that? It's just a nice jumping off point for you. The other side of the coin, I would say as well, is if it's a session that you're attending, there are a lot of times where I ask folks at the expo, like, oh, what sessions have you gone to? Because there are great content at these conferences for you to develop as a professional. When someone says, I haven't gone to any of the sessions, I've just been hopping around the booths, like that's not really, well, the networking piece is great and definitely building your career, really showcasing like that you are invested in developing within your industry is also great. So go to a session. Not only does that give you just your own education, it gives you a great talking off point about the conference. You're all at the conference, right? So that's an easy thing to talk about. Like, how's your experience been at, this week or whatever it is. So just again, if you're someone who starting those conversations is difficult, that little research or little kind of insight can really help jumpstart those conversations.
I love all this advice. The other thing you can do, I'm visual dyslexic, so my disability just, I use AI a lot. You can take your resume, upload it into your AI bot or an agent or a project, and then put in like, I'm going to go visit these career fair booths for these companies. How does my skills align to that? And that can help you start a conversations with Kate or Ashley. Hey, Kate, I see that Ford is doing some work on autonomous vehicle. I want a competition. How does that work? So like the biggest thing is, how do you separate yourself from the other people that are there? It's trying to find that niche where they will remember you. All right.
Done one thing to add on to that, and I loved that. One thing I'm thinking too is, there are companies that if somebody's parents have always driven a Ford and that's what they love and that's what they're passionate about and they're excited, these students are going to try to pursue Ford and they're going to already know things. So that's essentially like your competition, right? So thinking about, maybe you didn't always think about working at Ford, but hey, they've got a cool booth. I've heard really good things about their programs. I want to learn more. So you can go in that angle too, but you just have to kind of think about who's your competition at these events, because there's people that show up really well. And that's what we're doing here today, is helping you also become somebody that has these tips to show up really well at events.
I love that. We've talked a lot about preparing, coming to the booth with some things, but ladies, both of you, how do you keep it natural? Like, can you give us some tips and tricks on like how to keep the conversation natural and not be like, here's my checklist, here's, blah, 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 blah. Kate?
For sure. This was I was like taking notes at the most recent conference I was at to bring to this. So a couple of things is you will see a lot of, information out there about different organizations. Pick things that are actually of interest to you and things in which that wouldn't put the representative in an awkward position. So a lot of companies, right, there are things in the news or they might be doing stuff internally and you might see that and find it like, oh, this will be a good talking point. There are times though where sometimes that well-intentioned and you're trying to be like thought-provoking comes off as a little bit combative, quite candidly, or might just put the person in an uncomfortable situation because they're not connected to whatever the area that you're speaking about. So when oftentimes, if it's something you're truly interested in, that's usually not the case. It's usually things that then we can have a conversation on. So just being mindful of that. And then also thinking about, it's great to have, I love the idea of having like using an AI chat to prep you, really thinking about like having that elevator pitch prepared, but not going in like a robot, to your point, like really coming in knowing that like these are the points that you want to get across. But there'll be times where I'm just even having small talk, engaging with someone, and they will jump right to that elevator pitch because you really want to get those points across to the best of your ability. And it is, it's a skill set to be developed for sure. It is just trying to have a conversation, knowing that this individual has been in your shoes before, assume positive intent, they're rooting for you, right? So just go in with that mindset and try and weave it in a little bit more naturally so that we can also get a sense of what you're interested in, and not be so laser focused on necessarily, to your point, like the checklist in which you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, I love that, Kate. And one of the things too, it's like, we don't like, I mean, we're both recruiters, right? We're all recruiters. We've got that background. But we don't do our jobs because we hate them and we don't want to hire people. Like, it's completely the opposite. So like, I hope this for all recruiters, it doesn't always happen, but like, we want to make you feel comfortable at the table. We might like compliment your shoes. You might have gotten like a cool new tattoo that we might ask about, like, whatever it is, we want to get to know you. So I think like having that like professional, but also being yourself is really important. Like, one of the stories, and this actually happened to me, and I think it was like, it sticks out to me because I can't forget about it now. But I was at a finance career fair and I had a student come up to me and he's like, "Oh, I hate finance." And I'm like, "Okay." And I think I asked him, I'm like, "Then why are you here?" Because I look behind him and there's like 10 people waiting. So I asked him why he's here, and he's like, "I want you to change your mind about working in finance at your company." And I'm thinking like, all right, I'm gonna like be nice and have a conversation and talk about Medtronic. But I was like, we will never hire this person, right? Like, it didn't make sense. So just be you. And I'm sure, like, I looked at his resume. He had a great resume, had previous internships and work experience. So someone hired him, right? But to go up to somebody and say that when we want to get to know you and hear about you and share about the company, there's like ways to do it and not do it. But again, I think it's a good thing to be uncomfortable. I mean, if you would have asked me 25 years ago to get on a call and present to 30 people, well, okay, that technology might not have been around, but if you asked me to get in front of a room of 30 people, I don't know like how I would have felt about that. And now it's like, it's no big deal, where if you continue to work through things that are challenging. Networking's never easy. I hear that with our interns every summer. They're like, "Hey, can we get some tips on like how to set up networking calls or meetings?" And then I'll talk to them. They're like, "That was so awkward. I didn't know what to say." And at the end of summer, they're like, "I loved networking. I met with 50 different people this summer and here's what I learned." So once you put yourself in those shoes, you're able to like get more comfortable as you go. And, after your first couple booths that you walk up to, you're going to be doing great. So maybe that's where you practice with companies that you don't know or are just curious about, because something cool might come out of it. But then the companies that you're really serious about, that you've researched and you want to know more about, maybe save those till a little bit later, just so you get a little practice underneath your belt before you move on.
I was gonna say the exact same, Ashley. Like, go in and just practice. Not that all companies are not wonderful, but like practice with a couple where it's just like a low risk. You just get stronger the more you do it. It's one of those things. So absolutely, I think that's such a good tip. And the other piece too is with bringing your personality. We are certainly there, want to connect with you. Cognizant of being there's like this other contingent that sometimes is overly comfortable or overly friendly. So what I mean by that is when, I was at a recent conference and I was, at the expo booth for the full day. And there were some people just who saw me there for a long time and they're like, "You okay? You should be getting lunch. You should be doing this. You should." And it's like, I appreciate the well intention. I appreciate it. But it's also like, we don't know each other and a bit familiar, right? I'm covering for a few people there. Or something that also is definitely of the age is when I go to conferences, because I have somebody I'm caretaking for someone who's immunocompromised, I wear a mask. I am not sick, but I am trying to make sure that I do not bring something home. And a lot of people, like, there was a contingent that would come up and just be like, oh, are you sick? It's like, okay, well, this is awkward. So, just that kind of balancing of, we want to get to know you for sure, and that cordial, it's no different than when you meet somebody new, in your classroom, a new professor, very similar type of rapport to start that conversation.
I love that. My other bit of advice, so I'm gonna nail this one, finish this out, is like I said, I'm a big introvert. Most people don't know that. So when I go to like a social event, I have three things. One is my goal is to stay at least an hour. So the first thing I do is get in the longest line of food, because you only have to talk to the person in front of you and back of you. It's like church. Who's in front and who's in front of you, side of you. Then once I get my food, second thing I do is I will go find somebody who looks just as scared as I do. Maybe they're sitting by themselves. And then I try and go find somebody I know and talk to them. And that usually takes a good hour. And then you've done an hour. And then by then you can start talking to other people. So sometimes it's just, as Kate and Ashley have said, it's like, how do you figure out the little things? Okay. So besides career fairs, company socials, how should students utilize sessions as a way to network with organizations?
Definitely.
I can, oh, go ahead, Kate.
Oh, go.
Okay, I was gonna say, I've been at a couple conferences over the last year where we've hosted sessions. And one of the cool things is students will come up and they're like, yeah, I'm going to come to your session. I can't wait. Or, hey, I didn't get a chance to look. Are you doing any sessions today? Like, if you don't know, you can ask, right? And so then maybe a follow-up is, I'll see you there. And then what I've had students do is like, we watch the room, right? Like, if you already stood out, like if it seemed like a good fit, if you were not the guy that said he hated finance at a finance career fair, like it's one of those things where these students come up to you after and they're like, that was so great. And I recognize them from the booth. I recognize them from sitting there and looking engaged. To me, that's like somebody that I'm like, yep, commenting that we want to move forward with them. So it's really little things. And I'll say I haven't like dug into their entire resume. I probably just make sure that they meet our requirements, just do a quick once over and I'm done. I'm not really reading it, but that's somebody I already know that I want to engage with because they showed up. So I think it's just putting yourself out there. And I think Kate made this point earlier about students at conferences. If they're like, well, I'm just not attending sessions, or, hey, I just came to Chicago for the weekend to party with my friends, right? Like you have to be careful, like how casual you are, but use your time while you're there. Like you have the evenings to go out. You can do that. You have a lunch break, like try a new restaurant, whatever it is. But when you're there at the conference, use that time to dial in and get something out of it and truly listen to what they're saying at the sessions. Like some of it might be boring. And then you say like, hey, that's not the culture that I want to work in. That wasn't that great. And some might they say it could be that first company that you went to get your nerves out. You went to their session. You're like, wow, this is really cool. I had no idea. So you get the benefit either way, even if it's not a topic that you're super interested in. It might change your mind and just open your eyes a little bit more just to what that company stands for and what they do.
You said that perfectly. I could not have said that better. So thank you, Ashley. The only thing that I would layer on with is also, we don't just send representatives. Oftentimes companies send representatives to the expo also for company staff's own professional development. So I share that because there's a lot of times that you will be in sessions and representatives from companies are in those sessions with you in the audience because they're interested in the topic. So just know, like, recruiting is not just at the expo booth. It truly is through the conference. We have folks who come back and say, I met so-and-so, can you connect with them? Like, it really is the entire life cycle. So being really aware of why you are there, kind of what the purpose, what you put out, and how you engage with everyone, regardless of where you are at the conference, to make sure that you're really extending a strong first impression.
I love
And
that.
that can go like a little external too, because I think like after one of the conferences I was at, we had dinner and just grabbed a glass of wine at the bar, some of the team that I was with of Medtronic employees. And there was like a group of super loud students there, like taking shots, being really, really loud. And it's like, yeah, you're in Chicago. Like it's a fun city. Like that's the fun that you're supposed to have. But just kind of think about that too. Like when you're at the conference, if there's a bar, if there's restaurants in close proximity, anything like that, just being mindful, like recruiters might be out, somebody that's a representative that you sat next to, and one of those sessions might be out too. So just kind of think about like, you know, what you're wearing after the conference, where you're going, how you're acting, those types of things too, I think is always helpful.
Oh my God, Ashley, I love that advice. One of my not so favorite is I got stuck at the student hotel one year. I think it was at Ship. And again, my fault, totally my fault, early years. And I remember students running up and down the hallway, and I
Yeah.
went out, got ice, figured out a couple of students' names. And then the next day when they stopped by my booth, we had conversations on what you shouldn't do in a hotel. So you just never know. I love that. All right, we have a couple more minutes before we're going to open it up for questions. I've gone home, I've done all our tools and our tricks, and how, to both of you, what is the most impactful way to follow up after a conference or an event like this?
I think just owning your career, right? Like, and not relying. So when we talk about the booth and coming up with like, this is what I'm primarily interested, I'm flexible in these areas, but this is what I'm really looking for, is great. So kind of the same extends to your follow-up. So I definitely encourage, get to Ashley's point, get a business card, get a LinkedIn, get a contact that you can actively engage with. Apply to a role that you are actually interested in prior. So if you're going to reach out to an employer, like make it count. So if you're doing this back and forth, right, I'm considering applying to roles, like that's not as proactive as you can be. So what I would say is apply to a role, include the role in which you apply to, just so to give them the context. Remind the person that you're connecting with, hi, we connected at this conference. If you can, add in a nugget that you talked about, because again, everybody does meet a lot of individuals. This just makes sure that there's that connection and remembrance, and then seeing what you are actually interested in that you've already taken the steps to apply. It just cuts down on the time and the back and forth. So doing that homework in advance of the follow-up, but not leaving months between when you meet the individual and when you follow up. I would say within the week, you should be having some sort of outreach and some sort of application.
I love it. Ashley, thoughts, points of view?
What she said, that was great, Kate.
The one last thing is, this is, we've all read the whole like avalanche of applications. So here's another thing. Think about Mesa alumni. So if you applied to a job at Ford and a Mesa alumni, reach out to that alumni and maybe they can connect with Kate to be like, hey, Luis is fabulous. He's applied to the job already. But having that network of alumni, either from your university or from Mesa, is huge. So, all right, we're going to open up for questions. Let's see. All right. Oh, there's a Q&A tool. Sorry, I'm learning more.
Use the Q&A tool. You can put it in chat if you want. You can raise your hand, and we'd love to hear people ask their questions live. So, okay, we want to start with Misha.
Nisha, yeah.
Hello. So I had kind of a question. Usually I heard that you have to have like a resume or maybe even a transcript at hand at these events. Do you have to, how many copies of resumes and transcripts or CVs that you have to have during these events?
I would print, just if you're printing already, I would maybe print like 20 to 50 just to have them on hand, depending how long the conference and how big it is. I am not somebody who would require you to bring a transcript. That would really come very much later. So I would just focus on that resume. Again, the majority of employers probably are not necessarily going to take them, but they get wrinkled, or you kind of pass them around, or you've shown them a few times. So just having those extras so it doesn't stress you out. But again, just the resume, not the transcripts.
Okay. And And say that does it have to be printed on good paper, or can it be printed on regular printer paper?
Use printer paper. Please don't spend money on paper.
Don't
Okay.
put spray stuff on it either, people. This
Okay.
is, you would not believe how, yeah. Oh, thank you, Marvin. No scented paper, people.
Save your money. That is not if a company cares about what paper your resume's on, I don't know if you want to work there anyways.
Could be
But
Hallmark, you never know.
yeah, true. People may be really into paper. I'm sorry if you want to work for a paper company, that actually sounds fun. But what I would say about resumes too is like, okay, you're nervous at the booth, and I'll watch people kind of like shakily pull out their resume. Before you get up to the booth, just have it out on, portfolio, padfolio, whatever you want to call it, a folder, have it out, and then it's there. You can reference if you need to, and it's already, then you don't have to worry about like trying to pull it out and like maybe giving yourself a paper cut, and it's a lot then.
Yeah. Thank you. This really does help.
Great.
Good, you're welcome.
All right, Masha went first, so who's up next? You can put it in chat, you can come off mute, you can put it in the Q&A.
You can even, okay, here we go. Luis is asking advice on alumni trying to break into tech. I have my elevator pitch ready, but trying to get traction on interviews.
I think the biggest thing that I would say, which again, this feels like so basic, but really having multiple versions of your resume for what you are interested in. Like, take the guesswork off the recruiter and like really make it clear of what your intentional area, like tech is broad, right? And maybe there are a few areas of tech that you're interested in. Kind of tailoring to what you are most interested in is very helpful. So that this way we can really align you faster to certain opportunities. And if you are an alum, really looking at like, what is the level of experience? What is the level you're looking for? Relocation, all of those factors, just having a good sense of those going into the conversation.
I would also say, think about tech differently than you did 5 years ago. Tech is not just in the Silicon Valley. Some of the coolest tech jobs are at Ford, are at Medtronic, are at Abbott or other companies. So don't just think about what is in the Silicon Valley. Think about the job you're really trying to do. So that's my only advice. Orem, I see your hand up. I think you're next.
Yeah, hi everyone. I just had a random question. Hi, my name is Forum. I've heard kind of conflicting things from different college counselors and everything in the past, but from recruiters' perspective, do you guys prefer, I think, like school emails or personal emails when contacting you guys? Does it make a difference in the long term? And also, do you guys prefer connecting via LinkedIn, or like email is the best way usually to reach you guys, if that is offered, obviously? But I was just curious on your guys' perspective on that.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, whatever one you're gonna check is the email you should use would be my take. Because oftentimes folks kind of don't get them or whatever. There's sometimes certain systems can have limitations with EDU addresses. And if you are graduating and you're going to lose access to an email, that's a consideration as well. So that would be my call out there.
And if it's a personal email, just make sure it's a professional address. I guess like I don't see that as much anymore, but like, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. So it's one of those things like I remember back in the day, I was like, oh, are we really calling this person? I won't share the emails, but as you can imagine.
All right, we're getting.
And for me, email's good if you have our email. I'd prefer email. Otherwise, if you don't have it, LinkedIn is just fine.
Great. I'm going to take a question from the question bank. We'll pop back and forth. As a recruiter, does meeting a student make a significant difference in their application process? For example, do those students get placed in a special consideration pool or receive additional attention on your behalf? How does it work?
Yeah, I can take that one. So I'd say yes, it benefits it, but like, for example, for this call, to me, this is meeting you, right? Like if it's virtually, if we're on a phone call, if you reach out to schedule time, like anything like that, to me, that's a meeting. But yeah, though I would say it's definitely priority because we've already established this relationship. It seems like it's going well, a good connection. You seem like you'd be a good candidate. And I've talked to you, I've got your resume, you've applied, like all the things. Like for me, I wouldn't say like special consideration because obviously it really truly comes down to, you know, how you interview and some of those things. But yeah, I would definitely say that's like a special consideration or somebody that we would move forward. The thing about Medtronic, and I'd be interested to hear what Kate says, but we don't have this like fancy tool that screens all of our resumes for us. They're just coming in one by one. So if you think about if we get 30,000 applications for 400 jobs every summer, we can't look through all 30,000 applications. So we're pulling those of people that we've met, schools we attend, all of those types of things. So, you know, if you're coming through this group and you apply to one of our companies, that's that way to get in front of us and get, I guess, what you'd call that special consideration.
I love it. Raul, I think you're next. And we also have a queue of others, so I promise we'll get to everyone.
Hi, my name is Raul. I'm a computer engineering graduate student from UC Riverside. I'm actually going to the SHIP convention later this month, so I hope to see you guys there if you are attending. But my question is kind of a follow-up on the last one, but I know for these career fairs, you guys talk to, especially for the conventions, maybe dozens or even hundreds of students. What I'm curious about is what is the process after the career fair? Like, do you guys have a list of resumes? Or like, okay, we'll follow up with these people, or just like, what does that process after the career fair look like from the recruiter's perspective?
Oftentimes, at least for it's a multi-pronged approach, I think, for different organizations I've been with. So I mean by that is there are some teams who are going to hire on-site. So we do on-site interviews. So you might meet us at the booth and we might schedule you for that on-site interview. There may be teams though who are only doing virtual interviews, and so we'd connect you for post-conference with that interview team. So just having the flexibility, knowing that like it's not you, it's often the team in which you are interested in that will dictate the approach. The best thing that you can really do to be proactive is a lot of times right now, like we're starting to blast out requisitions and postings and what we're hiring. Like go through those before the conference. I think a lot of folks wait until after the conference, which totally understand. There's some companies where you might want to like get a little bit more information, but for others that you know that you are interested in, apply in advance just so that this way, because anything to Ashley's point is going to go off of that application, going off of those basic qualifications and how you meet those. That's the criteria that we have to really ground everything in. So by taking that action in advance, it just, again, continues to expedite the process a little bit faster.
I love it. Michelle, we're going to go to your question. Thanks for typing it out
Thank
because I
you.
know you had your hand up before. So as you discuss tips for navigating career fairs, I found it interesting how you emphasize being authentic when speaking with recruiters on getting to know the company and the roles, even when you're not very familiar with the company. I actually have a hard time connecting with a marketing representative at a previous event. How can I better engage and communicate with professionals from different roles at a career fair? Great question.
Yeah, I would say a LinkedIn message is good. I think email's good, but sometimes after these conferences, we might have like 200 connection requests. So I'm one person, I can only get through them as quickly as I can. So I would just say for that, you know, maybe it's another message then, a follow-up. Hey, I reached out to you a couple weeks ago, just following up, but have that action item. And I think asking the recruiter to, you know, if it's just somebody you met at a career fair, if you're like, hey, can you jump on a call? Can we do this? I would just more keep it geared towards your application because that's a lot of people are asking for our time and those short conversations. And we don't always have that time, especially in our super busy months.
I love that. Jefferson, we're going to go to you and then we'll go back to the Q&A questions.
Okay, awesome. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome. Hello, my name is Jefferson. I'm majoring in biomedical engineering at USC undergrad. I want to come back to your guys' point about understanding like how competitive it is whenever you're going to conferences, right? Like there's so many people that's coming in and out of your booths and talking to you. And even that, there's also like networking suites that some people get invited to and others don't, and things of that nature, right? So my question is, considering all of that, what advice do you guys have for us to really stand out whether we get into networking suites or we don't, so that after the conference, we really have a good chance of you guys like remembering who we are, at least giving a good enough impression where we can go further in the recruitment process.
I think with regards to like the networking events or things like that, know that oftentimes it's grounded in business needs. So if you are a finance major, but we are only there looking for primarily software engineers, it has nothing to do with your impression. It really has to do with, right, we're trying to connect with that population for these roles that we're interviewing for. So really what I would say is just, again, knowing yourself, like doing the homework for yourself so that it's less on the recruiting team supporting, so that you show up really showcasing, this is what I'm interested in, this is why I'm interested, here's what I've done already, I've looked at, and then opening up the conversation. I think that really shows, especially going back to the question around like mass applications in a time of AI, it's hard sometimes to know like who is truly interested. Like I said at the beginning of the call, we have a number of roles in Southeast Michigan. If you know that you are never going to go to Southeast Michigan, then like perhaps this is not a role that you're genuinely interested in. So showcasing that you really have that interest, that you took those steps. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot, but it separates you, because then we know you're not just applying as part of the masses. This is something that you're really invested in.
I love that. Kevin, you had a similar question, and just talking about the jobs, applying before you go, make a memorable interaction, be personable, professional at the same time, all of those things. Are there good rules just to stick to? Ashley, thoughts?
Oh gosh, I would say just to kind of wrap things up, I've got to jump here at 3 to another meeting, 3 Central, but I mean, I think the biggest things that I would say is just, be yourself when you go to these conferences. We want to get to know you. When we think about employers, we're real people too. So I think just having those conversations, the follow up after is always really important. And sometimes that follow up may take a couple times, especially knowing that we are always traveling and busy.
All right, so we have 1 minute, and I'm all about starting on time and ending on time. There's a few questions we didn't get to, so I'll get with the team, the Mesa team, and we'll answer those and get back to you. So Kevin, make sure you do a follow-up to Danielle or Marvin so we can make sure we get those answered. I just want to say, Kate and Ashley, thank you both so much. I know you were voluntold by some very good friends of mine. And I appreciate it. It's been so much fun to learn about what Ford and Medtronic is doing. And I wish everyone a great season. And to all the Mesa folks, amazing showing today. You all rock. I hope to see some of you in November at the student leadership event. So thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Dawn. That was great.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good one.
Thank you.